And we're live. Welcome, Saints fans, to another edition of Saints TV Live. I hope you're all well on this Monday evening. I was about to say Tuesday evening. We do usually do this on Tuesdays, but not anymore. You may have noticed Max has clearly got some plastic surgery and looks a little different. No, I'm just joking. We have Alana who's filling in for Max while he's gallivanting Europe. Some of you may know Alana from her fill-in appearance a couple of weeks ago when I was absent, but mainly from the teams. The live stream done when the teams are dropped on Thursday evening. Alana, how are you?
Good intro, Jordan. Thanks for that. I'm good. Ready to get stuck in after a bye. I'm hanging out for footy, for Saints footy.
Yeah, did you manage to watch any of the other games this weekend, even though it wasn't any Saints footy?
I watched a bit. I watched a little bit of the Geelong Carlton game, but I wanted it to be a bit closer, so that was a bit boring. So I switched off, and then I watched a bit of the Brisbane Port game, but much the same. Thought that was going to be a closer game, and it wasn't. Uh yeah, I think there was one other game I had on. Oh, the Gold Coast Freo, which don't don't normally pay much attention to those two interstate teams, to be honest with you. But yeah, I was just hanging out for a bit of footy, so I ended up having that on.
Yeah, it was quite a disappointing weekend in terms of footy. The only really close game was Melbourne and North Melbourne. And that was a bit. I didn't actually manage to catch that game because I was at a
Yeah.
21st. And it's always disappointing when Carlton win, and especially when they win big.
Yeah.
Before we get stuck into it, just like to shout out our sponsor, the Press Sellers, self-proclaimed world's best bottle shop. It's fully independent, which means they've got the best choices and prices going around. Check them out for yourself. They're located on Smith Street in Warragul. But if that doesn't tickle your fancy, then go to their website, thepresssellers.com.au. I guess it's a good time now that we've had the bye, Alana, to talk about um, maybe your expectations going into this season and whether the Saints have met them or not.
Yeah, look, I think making finals last year maybe gave us some sort of false sense of where we were at potentially, because I don't actually think we were due to play finals last year. I think everything sort of went our way surprisingly, and we sort of snuck in playing finals. I almost in a way wish we didn't make finals because it might have eased off expectation. But in saying that, I think you want to be playing finals. So it's a bit of a catch-22, but disappointing to be sitting 14th. I probably would have taken somewhere more like 10th even to be really sort of pushing up to make the eight, like realistically. 14th sort of that bottom four is a bit disappointing, but I mean, hopefully second half we can build, and sort of the opposite last year. I think the wheels sort of fell off a bit. Maybe we can get them going.
Yeah, I think I'd agree with you in saying that finals have probably made that jump a little bit too early. And 14th is probably a bit of a slingshot from last year. Like we're probably struggled more than we should have, and maybe next year I reckon we'll finish around that 10 to 11 mark, which is probably where we're more realistically at. And that's a good evening out of finishing sixth last year and losing an elim final and finishing 14th. But in saying that, you don't really want to be in purgatory. You either want to making finals or almost finishing in the bottom four, bottom six, to get that easier fixture and get a higher draft pick. So it's almost a good thing. And I was saying last week, Alana, I'd like to get your thoughts on this, that the Brisbane game was almost the perfect game and that we didn't win but played very well, scored over 100 points, because we realistically don't want to be finishing 12th or 13th. Like, we don't want to get, you know, random wins and unnecessary wins and drop lower in the draft order. A lot of people will be critical of that, saying we don't play to lose, and that's true. But there are circumstances that are sort of within your control sometimes. That whether you intentionally lose is one thing, but you can be a bit smart about it. So I'll get your thoughts on that.
Yeah, I can see pros and cons. I mean, I'm always one for a winning culture, and I do worry that sort of, you know, not putting in your best performance to get a lower draft pick. I don't always know if I agree with that. And, St Kilda are renowned for stuffing up high picks. So I don't think I've been seeing a really successful pick since your Rewalt Goddard sort of days. So I'm hoping King comes along. I've still got faith in King, but yeah, I don't want to put all my eggs in that top pick basket and then blow it when we've picked up Darcy Wilson, who looks like a good get, and he wasn't sort of your top 10. So you can still get a good player. But in saying that, if there's a Harley Reid available, you don't want to do a North Melbourne and win a game you shouldn't, and then you lose him. So I can see both sides. Like, imagine our team with Harley Reid in it. Like, we're a 3-4 goal better side, I think. So, yeah, there's definitely pros to cons in both. But for a young team, I'd want to get high spirits. If you keep losing like the Roos, you don't want to be playing footy. It's miserable. So you're going to end up losing your good players as well. So it's a bit of a catch-22. But I think I'm more for let's just play our best footy that we can and see what happens.
Yeah, and speaking of losing players, it's a good segue, Alana. There were comments made by Tom Morris on SEN and rumours flying around about Rowan Marshall. So I'll just pull that up on the screen now, but I'll get your thoughts on what's been said by Tom Morris.
Yeah, I mean, gosh, you'd hope they're just rumours, wouldn't you? I mean, he's arguably our best or most important player. If he's not our best, I'd say he's our most important, given our ruck depth. So, yeah, definitely want this to just be purely a rumour and a bit of look at me. Let's get people talking about me from Tom. So, yeah, I definitely don't want to lose Rowe. And he is contracted. So if we did happen to lose him, I'd imagine we'd get something decent for him. But I don't think like Max Heath is experienced enough at this point in time. And I think while Tom Campbell, I think he came in and did a decent job against Brisbane, but he's no Rowan Marshall. So we need to hold on to him for sure. I've just looked at Rowe's stats sort of for the year, and his actual ruck stats per se aren't really like above average for a ruckman, but his possessions and his clearance work and all that is so important, especially when we don't have a huge solid midfield. He sort of acts like that extra large midfielder, if you like. So yeah, don't want to lose him.
Yeah, that's a good point. I think it's more than his ruck work. Ironically, it's more about his around the ground presence and ability to take marks and occasionally drift forward when he's given the opportunity, which is not much because he's 99 times out of 100 he's forced to play the sole ruck, so he can't really do that. But I think why the rumours are circulating about Rowan Marshall is, and it goes back to what you brought up about a losing culture, is that because we're not. From what I gather about Rowan, is that he really wants to win, and there's been a couple of instances. Like I remember after the Melbourne game last year, which was a bit of a frustrating one. We could have been way more competitive, if not won the game, if we kicked straight. And we had way more inside 50s than they did. He was seen kick in the air and was a bit, was very frustrated. That we didn't win that game. You can see it on camera if you go back to the end of the game. There's a shot of him doing that. So I think he just wants to win, and you can't blame a guy for wanting to win as much as he can. He's heading towards the prime of his career, and he hasn't really been. He's played 3 finals in his career, which is okay, but not fantastic. I mean, imagine like who would be a good suitor for him. I don't know. I'm just trying to think someone without good ruck stocks, maybe even someone like GWS or Geelong comes knocking. You can imagine that he'd be more interested in going to them. But yeah, I'd agree with you, Alana. I really wouldn't want him to leave.
Yeah, and I think like I feel like when he first came on board, I didn't have that vibe about him. Like I did sort of, and I'm not saying he was a party boy, but I sort of got that vibe that he was just there to play AFL and didn't really care about the red, white and black. He was just, happy to get out there and get a kick. But the last couple of years, I've really seen him grow as a leader. And even that Hawthorn game, he made that mistake late and he was so dirty on himself and so determined to like make amends. And then after that game, probably similar to what you're saying about the game last year, walking off, he was so filthy. And yeah, that just makes me think he's sick of losing. So yeah,
you want you want players that give a shit. You don't want people that are there for a paycheck. And obviously, sometimes it's hard to tell. And sometimes look, football isn't it is a job at the end of the day. People have still got to get paid. But ideally, you want players that want to play for the red, white, and black. And Rowan Marshall is one of those. So to lose him, and also to lose someone maybe not as committed to the red, white, and black, but certainly a good player as well, Josh Battle. Um, Dale. I'll pull up this comment here. I'm not a mind reader, and I don't have insights into Josh Battle. Obviously, he had a new kid. A new kid. He's had a kid in the last few months. So maybe he wants more stability. But moving from St Kilda to a club like Hawthorn or Collingwood, it's not exactly like you have to relocate miles and miles away. I could reasonably foresee that happening, although I would not want him to leave. Alana, what do you reckon? Do you reckon Josh Battle's got one foot out the door, or what's your gut feel?
Yeah, I feel like if we keep persisting with Caminiti as a backman, I'll be worried. Um, yeah, I don't want to lose Battle either. I feel like he's just hit that level that we were like hoping he would get to. So the last thing we want is players to hit their sort of career best form and then see you later. So no, we definitely need to try and keep our good players. But I mean, I don't know if they look at, like Gresham now, he goes to Essendon, who you sort of thought were on par with us, and there he's suddenly in the top four. And I don't know if that's a bit enticing for players to think, oh, I could be doing the same thing. So yeah, it is a bit of a concern. But I guess watch this space with Caminiti. Because I mean, we've got Shoemaker in to sort of fill the temporary void for Howard, I suppose. But yeah, I'm a bit worried.
Yeah. Instead of talking about players that are leaving, a player that could be brought in is Tyson Stengel. Now, I would think he is an acceptable get, but Tyson is 30, 31 years old, and I think a lot of his game can be attributed to the system at Geelong. Um, but the main fact is that he's 30, 31 years old. He doesn't fit our timeline with compared to someone like Josh Battle or Rowan Marshall. And the figures that Jay Clark from the Herald Sun's reporting that St Kilda and Essendon offering $700,000, $800,000 a year seems very. I could see your reaction there. That's probably similar to what my initial reaction would have been. It seems a lot of money for someone who doesn't fit our timeline, and I would say I'd rather give Josh Battle overs and pay him something like 1.4, 1.5 than give Stengel 800 and either lose Battle or keep Battle on similar money. That's my opinion. Those watching, let us know. Alana, what are your thoughts on Tyson Stengel? Do you think we go after him, or you limit it on a certain amount? Because if he leaves Geelong, it will be for the money. I think it just has to be. So what would you pay him? What would your limit be? What would you say? Anything above this would be a no.
Yeah, given his age, and I mean, to me, he's a B grader. So like, I would probably be more like a 500K, not 700-800. But that's just me. And like, to be honest, I'm a little bit out of the loop with how much players get paid these days. So I could be a bit off, but I think he's too old. Like, we're not going to be challenging for a flag in the next couple of years, and that's his age bracket. I don't really get it. Two, I don't even know if he's the position type we're after. I'm a bit, I don't know, like we sort of want a gun mid, but then in saying that, is he the reality of like he's the best we are going to get? Because over the years, we've kept saying we're going to get these gun players and we just don't get them, and we do end up with your sort of B grade types, and I think that's where he falls. So maybe that's like realistically the type of player that we'll get, so that's why we're looking into him. Yeah, I don't love it, but that's just me.
Yeah, I suppose it does to where when you mentioned where going for all these players and missing out, we're turning into the mid 2010s North Melbourne where they would go for guys like Gaff and Dusty and Josh Kelly and keep missing out. And their war chest was talked up a lot as well, similar to ours. So hopefully we don't become them. I've seen an article from the Raw, an online website, which I've taken a screenshot of, Alana. I'll get your opinion on it as well as those watching. I'll pull it up on screen now, and yeah, see what your thoughts are on it.
I don't know about doing us a favour, sending us to Tassie. I haven't actually seen this article.
Sorry, I've sort of just sprung this on you a bit.
Yeah. Yeah, no, well, I mean, if this is asking my opinion on whether I think we should have gone to Tassie, no. Am I worried that we'll be the team like, I was concerned that we would be the team to merge and create a Tassie team just because of our history over 150 years. Um, but yeah, I don't know, it's a bit rich, but I'm probably biased as a Saints supporter saying, "No, mate, you got that wrong."
Do you think? I mean, maybe. I mean, the Tassie comment's probably a bit of a throwaway there. I wouldn't say that's the main thing.
Okay,
I think the main thing is the point that Ross Lyon seems to be pretty safe in his job when he's got a similar record to that of Brett Ratton.
okay.
What do you make of that sort of notion?
Yeah, look, I think that move was very St Kilda, just a bit of a shambles. But I mean, I've always been a Ross Lyon fan, so I was sort of happy to sweep it under. But it's a pretty terrible look when you give a coach an extended contract and then next minute you're shown the door. So I didn't love that. And yeah, I guess we've probably given Ross a sort of 5-year contract to do what he needs to do, and probably his reputation's going to save him a little bit, I think. But in saying that, backing like so many past players, you speak to any past player and they have nothing but positive things to say about Ross, and I think they're going to know better than most. So that's probably what I'm banking on is, he had the players' backs. Yeah, so I'm just going to trust in them that he's the right man for the job, and I sort of am happy to give him that 5 years, and it's just so St Kilda to sack the coach when things don't go right. So I feel a little bit sorry for Brett. In lack of a better term, it's a shit thing to happen to him. So yeah, hopefully Ross can get us moving in the right direction. But yeah, not the nicest thing, but I guess that's the industry as well.
Yeah, I suppose Brett probably isn't complaining too much. He's landed an assistant coaching job at Hawthorn now, and they seem to be headed in a good direction. And they're exciting to watch as well, Hawthorn, I might add. So yeah, I'm sure he's was just one at the time, but probably not hanging over it too much. I'll pull up this question from Ishi, Alana. I'll get your thoughts on it. It's hard to know. It's hard to say because we're not inside the four walls at Moorabbin. What do you think of this?
Yeah, well, I guess I'll just sort of have to reiterate what I said before. Whenever you hear a past player sort of speak about him, there's nothing but positivity. And I think now, if you listen to a past player, like there's no reason for them to say that. Whereas if you listen to a current player, well, he's not going to go bag out his coach, is he? Like that's not a smart move. But I think the past players are going to be very genuine about how they felt about him. So going off that, I do think they've got a positive mindset. And I did attend a function like a month or so ago where Bonner and Filippo were there, and they only had good things. But I mean, like I said, they're not going to go and badmouth their coach. But it seemed genuine what they were saying. You never really know, like you said, but
They probably have
he's
pretty good PR training at St Kilda.
okay. Yeah, that's right.
Um, there was something I've seen what Gary Lyon likes to bring up on Fox Footy a lot, in his analysis is the premiership window. So 16 of the last 18 premiers have finished in the top six. You got to be in the top six for offense and defense. And this is a little graphic here that sort of shows that. I guess it sort of shows that we're above the line in terms of defensively, but it just goes to show how far our offense is away from the mark. And Alana, I'll get your thoughts on whether you expected this, surprised, or surprised by any other teams, I suppose, that might be in there, because it looks like Brisbane and Sydney are the premiership favourites. I mean, Brisbane have been playing pretty good. Sydney, obviously, flag favourites right now. But Brisbane only just inside the 8, although they have been playing pretty good footy past couple of weeks.
Yeah, Brisbane don't really surprise me, and I think Lyon likes to bring it up a fair bit, where he talks about teams that might not be getting the wins on the board, but that are still playing pretty good footy, and I think that sums up Brisbane quite well. And I think a few games they've been a little bit inaccurate, so that might have cost them. In terms of where we're at, last year we were playing a very exciting sort of attacking brand, whereas this year that's really fallen off, sort of with the exception of last week. So that doesn't really surprise me with where that sits, but I definitely agree you need to be in that top 6 at least in both categories. I don't mind that we're getting sort of our defence set, but I don't know if it's purely like, it's hard to explain, but like I feel like our defenders are sort of locked, and they're pretty good at what they do, and they're able to sort of generate. But then it's that next link in the chain that we're just falling apart. Like our inside 50s are just terrible. So I think like in the Brisbane game, we showed when we get it right, we actually can score. So I think it's more about balancing and getting it right more often, and then also playing 4 quarters, because we are just not a team that's capable of playing 4 quarters. And I think you're not going to be contesting when you're only sort of playing, 2.5, 3 quarters a game. You just can't do that anymore. Like, you can't win games without playing a full.
I don't know about that. I was with you until the last point, Alana, because playing 4 quarters helps, but you look at a team like Sydney, who consistently gives up 20, 30-point leads, like they did against Geelong and Adelaide, and they've done it a couple other times this season, and then they just blitz their opponent. So I think you can come back, but generally speaking, yes, playing 4 quarters definitely helps win a game. Do you think, you mentioned the next link in the chain? Do you think maybe the problem? I mean, it's always going to be a combination of things, and you'll never really know. Would you say that it's more so the midfielders and the forward 50 entries, or the forwards in terms of their structure up forward? So is it the forwards? I mean, it's obviously going to be a mix of both. It's never quite black and white. But would you say, if you 51-49 split, is it the forwards issue or the midfielders issue right now?
Look, first half of the season, I probably would have blamed the mids. But now, like, I'd really like to see sort of a heat map, and like Max King, for example, his work rate and him getting himself into the right positions and things. I just don't know that he maybe works quite hard enough. I'd like to see him improve in that area, I suppose. I mean, and I've had the luxury of growing up watching Rewald, who was an absolute workhorse, so that's probably not fair on King either. But I don't know, sometimes his attitude comes across as a bit like, can't be asked. But I don't know if that's just his persona as well. Like, but I've tried to watch him a bit more closely, and like I'll be going to the game on Sunday, and I really sort of want to focus on watching King, how hard he works. Because there's definitely been games where he'll get himself open and we completely just blow it, like kick it out in the full. And how's he not going to be frustrated with that? So I can definitely see why he would get frustrated, but I'd like to see him just get back on the horse and get on with it a bit more too, like get his goal average up a little bit more.
Yeah, I think a lot of people. You mentioned King's work rate. He doesn't have a work rate. It's just non-existent. That's a bit harsh. People will like to blame the midfielders and say, "Oh, the forward 50 entries are terrible," and give all these excuses for the forwards. You look at teams like, even sometimes like contested ball-winning teams like Carlton, who their forward 50 entries aren't that great and aren't that direct, but they manage to make it work because their forwards get to not even the right spots. They get to a spot where they're open, and they can either they do their job. The tall forwards, Mackay and Curnow, either go for the mark or bring it to ground level, and their small forwards crumb. At the moment, you've got Jack Higgins going up for a mark, and Max King is the one roving and getting the ball. That's not what a good team looks like.
Yep.
They've got the roles reversed.
Yeah, and I would agree. Like, my probably biggest pet peeve at the moment is if we get a clearance and it's just, it might be just a very quick kick out. The amount of times that is just marked by the opposition uncontested does my head in. Like, it's like, how do our midfielders not like preempt that kick coming in, like every other team in the comp seems to be able to do, and get that kick pretty much like on the 50, and you've got either a shot on goal or another inside 50, like bang, like super quick. We just do not do that anywhere near enough. Like because Rowan Marshall, yeah, people say like, oh, he just bangs it on the boot, that's a useless kick, but he's actually got it out of the middle, giving us like first use. But our forwards are just never there. I don't get it. Like, there's just no chemistry. I don't understand how a forward doesn't know where to be.
Yeah, I think it's interesting. Like, yeah, two sides of that coin. Rowan Marshall does tend to hoof it on his boot and not worry about it. But then again, like I've just talked about, the work rate and the roles that they're playing seem to be a bit mixed up. So, um, I think, yeah, I think if you're looking at it, yes, the midfields aren't great, but if 59, 59, 51, 50, I can't even speak, 51-49 split, I'd say probably the forwards, not blame, because that's a harsh word, but I'd say that's where we're lacking a bit at the moment. Dale, I would say yes. Been in and out of the Geelong side this season, only played 5 games, but he's only 21 years old, I think, 21, 22. So, yeah, I would say invest in youth. Another fringe player. I'd say a lot of people will point to Riley Bonner and say, that's he and draw comparisons, but the difference is that Riley's what, 20? How old's Riley Bonner? I don't know off the top of my head. Alana, would you happen to know?
I would have said more like 25 ish. Yeah, I
He's
have no idea.
he's 20. He looks 28 ish to me. He is 27 years old. Yeah, so he's supposed to be in the prime of his career. Shannon Neal is not. Um, so I'd say going for someone more like Shannon Neal would be a better fit for our club. And even though he's a fringe player, like in the game that we played against Geelong last year in round 23, he wasn't terrific. Then again, no one from Geelong was terrific. So Dale, to answer your question, I'd say yes. Alana, have you seen much of Shannon Neal? What are your thoughts generally?
I haven't seen a lot, but generally I find Geelong just seem to like develop their youth so well. So like, I mean, I probably not said like I said I didn't want Stengel, but I was probably more of an age sort of thing. Whereas I'm probably a bit more inclined to get someone in that age bracket from Geelong who's come up, because I just think that they are such a professional club, and that's probably the only thing I would say with Stengel, that yeah, maybe as a sort of a leadership type player, he's come from such a good background, like playing at Geelong, that he might be able to give us a bit, I don't know, professional wise, like yeah, they just seem to get the best out of their players. So maybe more inclined to pick up from a Shannon Neal for that reason, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Um, Looks like Neil's been waiting on Hawkins to retire. I think he might be waiting a bit longer. Dale, I think Hawkins probably has got at least the rest of this year, maybe another year left in him, I reckon. Looking, couple of comments here about LDU. It's always a tough point, and your season's gone when you're already looking to free agency. Um, I think that it's an understatement to say that LDU would be good for the St Kilda Footy Club. Is there I think Nick's right in saying that there's not much incentive for him to go there. Like, how much better is St Kilda than North Melbourne? Obviously, as fans, we're going to have a biased viewpoint, and yes, St Kilda is better than North Melbourne at the moment. But if you're going to leave a club, it's probably going to have to be a significant improvement. And is St Kilda that than North Melbourne?
Yeah, I think he'd have to be leaving for the money. To be honest, like that's the only incentive to sort of come to us at the moment, unfortunately. So yeah, we're probably going to end up paying him way overs, and then I don't know if that makes the rest of our players disgruntled, but I sort of say so be it, because unless one of you comes up and demands we pay you that, fine. But until then, we need LDU. So yeah, I say sign him up and show him the money.
Yeah, I guess, yeah, you're right, and that's pretty much the only incentive players have to to come to St Kilda. Dale, I'm going to say a hard no on this one. I would not get rid of Wilkie for LDU.
Yeah, I agree with that. And I was just going to point out too, Simon's just pointed out that Stengel's only 25. So, yeah,
Oh, okay.
I don't know where
That changes my opinion slightly.
yeah,
Apologize. I thought he was a bit older than that. I
yeah,
mean, he's played
yeah.
for 3 clubs, so that's kind of understanding. And he looks a bit older with his beard.
Mm,
Um, or maybe he shaved recently. I don't know. I remember him having a beard at some point. Anyway, um, I just don't think that I'm never a fan of getting. I don't think the upgrade needs to be at the small forward position.
mm,
I think you can change that structurally. I think you can't change the talent, what's going on in the midfield structurally at the moment. I think they've done what they can. I think midfield is the more pressing issue.
yeah, 100% agree.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, this is not happening, AJ. I'm not sure where you've heard it. With all due respect, there is no way that Andy Brayshaw is going to be leaving Fremantle, a team that can realistically compete for the top four. Unless, Alana, can you see that happening? I really can't see that happening, to be honest.
Oh, I'm not going off our record of signing the big guns. So yeah, I couldn't see it. I'd be stoked, but I couldn't see it.
Yeah, it would have to be, there would have to be a reason, like either he went for St Kilda as a kid, or he's got family in the Bayside area. Even that probably isn't enough to
Mm.
go from a team that's is in a very good place in Fremantle, who've got some good youngsters as well. Yeah, Jesse Brown says we'll start to see a new team emerge over the next few weeks. Jesse, can I get you to clarify whether you mean new in terms of like playing the kids instead of guys like Seb Ross and Tim Membry and older ones, or you mean like in terms of they step up their game? I'll just
Mm.
get him to, because I'm not too sure
Mm.
what he means by that. I think probably step up their game from what he's saying. Alana, what do you think in terms of playing guys? Would you be happy to drop guys like Seb Ross, Tim Membry from players like Hugo Garcia, and giving Show and Maker an extended run on the team?
Yeah, I think it still comes down to form. And to me, like Membry's been way off the mark this year since like round one. Just haven't seen enough for him for his standard. Like his hands used to be like buckets. Like he just didn't drop marks, and now he can't take one to save himself. So he's just had a real drop in form. So I'd be inclined to play like a younger kid over him. Seb, I think, is being a bit more of a role player. But in saying that, he just doesn't get enough of it for me. But I mean, he does have that experience, and he's okay under pressure. With like I really rate his hands, but his kicking is left to be a little bit left to be desired. But he does have that experience where he can handle the heat a little bit more. But is that enough to play him at the expense of a Garcia, who I really do rate as a young kid coming through? So I think second half of the year, finals off the table. Yeah, I'd be inclined to play a Garcia over Seb, unless Seb was coming in and getting his 20 odd touches, but he's coming in and having like 8 touches a game. And that to me, even if you are playing a role, it's just not enough.
Yeah, I mean, he's probably getting 8 touches because he's playing on the wing, which, at least for some of the game, which is just, it doesn't make. If he's not in the team for his contested work, he's not a wingman like how Mason Wood or Darcy Wilson or even Brad Hill is. So I don't. If you want to play him in the centre, fine. But if he's not playing there, I don't see why he's in the team, to be perfectly honest.
Mm-hmm.
You mentioned that you watched a couple of games on the weekend, and one of those being a bit boring in Port Adelaide. We'll take a look at Squiggle now, I suppose. I'm not sure if you're too familiar with the website, but this is the prediction that they have for us against Port Adelaide. I'll get your thoughts on whether you think the likelihood and the probability margin is fair. What your expectations are for the goal. Well, maybe we'll start with what you saw against. What you think, where you think Port Adelaide are at the moment, and how we stack up against them.
Well, they're a funny team, and we rarely seem to play them at Marvel. But I mean, it's just another week where they go and get freaking pantsed, and they're in the media, and Ken Hinkley, he's going to lose his job, and like, of course, now they're going to play us and come out firing. It just seems to happen to the Saints all the time. So I'm just annoyed by that. And then, Rosie comes back in and actually has a decent game. Like, he's sort of come in and hasn't really done much, whereas on the weekend he was probably one of their better players, I think. So yeah, he's probably likely to come and turn it on against us too. But in saying that, I think Windhanger's in good form, but he maybe will go to Horn Francis potentially. And then you've still got to stop Butters. So yeah, I remember discussing the teams when we played Port last time, and yeah, their midfield was a real worry. But I do think they're a lot more gettable at Marvel. They like, I just don't think we play them that much here, and so I'm looking forward to playing them here and not travelling to Adelaide for a change. And then, do you know, did Dixon get off, or did he end up getting suspended?
I believe he's still been wiped out
Yeah,
for a
okay.
couple of weeks. But even if he wasn't, I don't think that his form has been good enough to justify picking him. So I think they'd still play Todd Marshall instead, which is interesting because
Mm.
it could be Charlie's last year then if he's not playing. What do you think in terms of the bookies have us as favourites? We're favourites going into this game. It's hard to know from these mathematical predictors like school. They don't. It's hard to take into account like the response factor. Like you said, we seem to always get the short. Oh my god, short straw. When it comes to teams needing to rebound, like consecutive weeks last year, we played West Coast when they came off like 180, 190 point loss or whatever. And then we played Gold Coast the week after, who had sacked Stewie Dew. So it does seem to happen to us. But yeah, do you think maybe we shouldn't be favourites given the response factor, or what do you think?
Yeah, I reckon that must purely be the at home factor is all I'm thinking. And I guess they're basing it off them getting smashed by the Lions, I suppose. But I don't know. I think the Lions are going to scare a few teams the second half of the year. So I don't know how much I would look into it. And Port have, I guess, like a lot of clubs this year, very inconsistent, very up and down. They can look very good or very average, probably depending on how dominant their midfield is. But yeah, they are. Like, where are they? Around eighth or something on the ladder? I can't even remember now. Eighth or ninth, maybe. But I don't know. I don't know how we're favourites when we're sitting 14th, but maybe, yeah, looking at the last week is where that stat's coming. But has that got us winning by 4 points? Like, it's not very convincing.
Yeah, it'll be a close margin for 4 points. So not too, you know, not heavy favourites. 55 and 53% win chance. It's pretty even. That's as even as you can get, really. So they're not too confident in that. And to be honest, well, I mean, Port Adelaide aren't great away from home, I suppose. I don't know. I think that's probably fair. Like it's probably as 50-50 a game as you can get, really. To answer Jan's question, I'm not sure. He obviously missed the game against Brisbane for personal reasons. I had the bye as well last week. It was good to see us get the win over the bye. It was a very tough matchup. Do you know, Alana, or anyone out there, if Naz is back, and hopefully he's doing okay with the personal reasons?
Yeah, I'd assume he's back. I haven't heard either way, and I don't know if that's a good or bad thing, but I'm assuming he's back in if I haven't heard otherwise.
Yeah, I think it'd be good to have him back, and I think you take out Riley Bonner instead of, because Shoemaker was his replacement,
Mm.
but I think you take out. I think you have to give Shoemaker another go because he had a very good game against Brisbane.
Oh, absolutely. I think play Ari the rest of the year, to be honest. Like, if he can continue with that form, like 18 touches or whatever he had, and good touches too. I don't reckon he coughed it up that out of those 18 touches. I didn't see his disposal efficiency, but I reckon it would have been pretty high. And like meters gained, like his kicks he's an exciting player. I think he might end up being a fan favourite. So hopefully we hold on to him and he doesn't go to Tassie. But yeah, I really like him, want to persist with him. And I think Naz plays, then I'm more confident that we can get up over Port too.
Yeah. I'll get this comment here from Jack, and this goes back to our point earlier about the ruck stuff, not the ruck stuff, the midfield versus forwards. Because if we're actually winning the ball, we still weren't that damaging against Brisbane, especially in the first quarter. I think we won more. We got more clearances than they did, like a significant amount. Than if I remember correctly. And yeah, Sam's backing me up here. Won the first 13 or 14 against Brisbane. And it looked that way on the eye test as well. Like, we were winning a lot of the ball, we just couldn't do anything with it. So I would say that the forwards are letting us down a bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's. But you know, as much as you can say the forwards are letting us down, we don't really have too many options. So that's a bit unfortunate. But what can you do? Jesse, thank you. You clarified what I was asking about earlier. Babies are clicking more and more each week. There's a good culture from what I've seen at reserves. Did Sandringham play last week? I didn't think that Sandy played. Interesting. I could have sworn they also had the bye. Anyway, maybe he's talking about the week before. Good culture. Bad luck that Naz didn't play. Bad luck, but I'm not sure that Naz would have really swung the game. I'm not sure he's a good player. I'm not sure that we would have been the reason we kicked four more goals against Brisbane, to be perfectly honest. But I think Jesse's right in saying that the tides are slightly starting to turn and that we're probably playing some better footy. What do you think, Alana? Do you think Jesse's on the money here?
Yeah, I mean, look 2 weeks ago to that Gold Coast game, and you're probably saying we're way off it. But then that Brisbane game was super promising and like really exciting. And a couple of times I was actually just like, like feeling it. Like, it has been so long since I've watched us play, like probably since the Collingwood game, we've just really got that genuine like excitement. And, Butler with that rundown tackle was just like, oh, yes, chills. And then we go kick it out in the full, and it's just like, oh, that's just typical up and down St Kilda.
That's the most St Kilda thing ever.
Yes, totally. So was that 50-meter penalty, but anyway.
The one where he play, where the passage of play where Wilkie kicks it down the line to Higgins, who goes up for the mark. King again, another example of role reversal. King roves it, kicks it to Henry. Henry kicks it. Butler marks it, plays on, and then just. Oh no, sorry, you're talking about something else.
No, but yeah, that as well.
Yeah, and then when Butler played on, and then immediately got taken by Zorko. That was a very secure to play. But yeah.
Yes, and then even like Higgins kicks his 5 goals, and that was awesome. And like a bit of a shout out to Higgins because I'm always sort of on his back to kick a couple of goals for us. But he's actually had a very good year. Anyway, yeah, when Henry had the ball and then Higgins played on, but it was just like I've been banging on for our forwards to just want to get the ball and kick a goal like for I don't know how long. So part of me was actually just happy that Higgins was like, "No, I've got this. I'll kick the goal." So I liked that. Like, yeah, it was crap that he missed, but he did kick 5 other goals. So yeah, I think. And that's what a small forward's meant to do. He's meant to take his opportunities. He doesn't get many. So unfortunate that he missed, but it was just very typical St Kilda.
Yeah. I'll probably shout out to Higgins as well. I've been on his back a bit too. And so has Max. So I apologise on our behalf. But yeah, I think he's a leading goal kicker, which is quite impressive for a small forward. And he also missed 3 games through his suspension. Yeah, you mentioned before, Alana, about Windhager tagging maybe Horn-Francis. I was thinking that I would agree, or I think that's what AJ's sort of implying, that maybe Windhager goes to Butters. I would say that he goes to Butters more so. He's more damaging than Horn-Francis. What do you think? Because Rosie will probably play more up forward, or at least mid-forward. Would you rather Windhager goes to Butters or the horny one, as BT likes to refer him to? Ridiculous.
BT. Yeah, it's a tough one because I think they're both very damaging on their day. Look, I have Horn-Francis in my super coach, so I'm kind of happy for him to go to Butters. But yeah, I like, and it's hard as well because Horn Francis is a very sort of noticeable, flashy player, whereas Butters is your consistent. Like he'll get his 30 possessions and he won't waste one all game. Like whereas Horn Francis can be a little bit in and out, a bit erratic. So yeah, I can see the benefit of tagging a Butters who's going to be consistently good all game. So yeah, maybe he goes to Butters.
Yeah. Jack, I'm not sure if this is sarcasm. Please clarify
Yeah.
because I would rather stick forks in my eyes and I don't know, jump into a pit of boiling love and listen to BT every game. Although to be fair, I've been starting to listen to Triple M. I've turned off I've found Alana. I'm not sure if you'd agree, and those in the audience let us know that it's much more interesting to listen to commentators calling on the radio, like on Triple M, because they actually have to call the game
Yeah.
versus the drivel that they talk in when watching on TV when they're afforded a bit more time. Like, yes, some people find it interesting. I hate that shit. It's
Yeah.
just so boring.
Yeah.
It's
Oh,
I'll listen to Triple M and sync it up to my TV rather than rather than listen to regular commentators. What do you think?
yeah. The thing that I can't stand with BT is, yeah, he'll bang on about something not related and then he'll commentate, but he gets the players' names wrong. Like, I reckon
Mm.
50% of the time. And I'll just be like, no, no, that wasn't him. Like, you're not even close. And yeah, but the only thing I do like is Richo's banter back and forth a little bit. I sometimes like Richo putting him in his place. That's enjoyable. But yeah, I just want him to commentate the game, and I want to know what player has the ball, not yeah. Or he'll be
Yeah,
like, "Oh, what a great kick," and then it's like sails out on the full, and you're like, "Yeah, that was great, wasn't it?" Like just
yeah. Well, BT and we're seeing comments here. Like BT has iconic moments. Um, and they're funny, sure, but the problem with BT is that he has that 1% of humor, and then the other 99% is just shit. It's just not calling the game. It's talking about cool. Yes, he has. Yes, that was semi interesting, sure, but it's not. It's not about the game. I'd rather they just call the game, and yeah, you can have a bit of flair and whatever, but they do too much. And
yeah,
the stuff that JB does, JB gets on my nerve. JB is good for cricket. He's not good for
yeah,
footy
I
because
totally agree.
he calls the player's name. It will go like Jamie Elliott, and then it is called like Elliott and that's not a good call. You're just calling the player's name. There's no you
Yeah.
sound excited, but there's no
Oh,
that's not good commentary. That's not
yeah. I
anyway.
completely agree. Yeah, JB. I feel like JB almost tries too hard or something. I'm just like, just commentate. You don't have to be making this huge big catchphrase every time. Like just tell us what's going on. Yeah, he annoys me.
Yeah. Anyway, I think Luke Hodge is all right with his special comments. Joel Selwood annoys the shit out of me. Um, yes, actually, Eddie Maguire. Controversially, Eddie Maguire when he used to do he was actually okay. I didn't mind him.
Yep.
Hutto's very good on Fox. I'm not sure. I'm assuming Alana, you have Foxtel or KO.
Yeah, yeah, KO.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so you'd know the main ones. Like Kelly Underwood's not good.
Oh.
Jack Rewalt annoys me a lot. He annoys me. Abby Holmes on Channel 7 is good.
Yep.
I rate her. Oh, who else can we talk about that's on? Lee Montagna when
I was
When
gonna
he's on
say,
Triple M,
I quite enjoy
he's
Joey.
very good.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a bit of bias maybe, but
Yeah, but
that's
I feel like he's got a good voice for it too. Like I enjoy listening to him. Yeah,
yeah,
he's one of my favorites, even though I probably am biased. But no, I rate him.
I think he's very good, especially on radio, but also on yeah, also on Fox as well. Who else do we think of? Dermot Brereton's hit or miss. Alastair Nicholson's hit or miss. Who else?
Yeah, then you got
Oh, there's this one. Yeah. Anyway, that's not about commentators. But yes, get BT and JB off television. That's what I'd say. We might do a bit of squiggle. We saw it a little bit before. This is the ladder predictor after round 15. Looks like Adelaide's fallen behind us again, which is double-edged sword. Whether it's more attractive to a team. I suppose I wouldn't want to finish higher than 13th. And I can't see us finishing higher than 14th at the moment, just because of, you look at statistically how with the gap we'd have to make up, it's probably not going to happen, even with our run of games home at Marvel. Like there's just too much ground to make up. So I wouldn't want to finish higher than 13th anyway to avoid that middle six fixture. I think we can definitely benefit from the bottom six fixture next year.
Mm.
And this is who won the round, as we're all familiar with. I'm not going to go through the explainer. We know how it works. Or if you don't, visit squiggle.com.au. Even though we had the 10th best team that weekend, yes, it's a bit complicated with how it works because of the bye. 1% less likely to finish in the bottom six. Again, double-edged sword. Whether that's actually good or not. But yeah, that's probably about it. We spoke a bit about the Port game already. I'll bring up this comment from AJ if I can. No, yes, there we go. This was such a non-issue. Like this was just news.com.au doing having a slow news day, and players do that all the time. Sign of respect, like whatever.
Oh, it was ridiculous, and I think Neil and Abby are like Lockie Neil and Abby are actually friends. So yeah,
Yeah,
what a beat up over nothing.
yeah, it's slow news. The media likes to get clicks, obviously. Yeah. For those in the comment, I'll get your thoughts, feelings, predictions on how we'll fare against Port Adelaide. Hopefully we get the chocolates in that. Alana, we've mentioned a bit about tagging, but what else? Who else do you think are the key players for Port Adelaide? Where do you think the game will be won or lost?
Oh, yeah, look, I do really think it comes down to the midfield, but I do say that every week. But, I don't think that their forward lines that crash hot. Like, I'm not super worried about any of their players in particular. It's really just that Butters, Horne-Francis, Rosie being back combo to me that gets the job done. But I'm probably feeling. I hate it when I'm feeling like confident because it never ends well. But for some reason, I feel like we've got a big chance to win it. But yeah, I don't like the fact that they've been in the media all week about that performance and Ken Hinkley and blah blah blah. So hopefully that doesn't play into it. And like sometimes I think, oh, how much impact does that actually have? Like, is it the first 5 minutes where the players are all getting, extra motivated and then it falls away? I don't know. But like if it's a bit of a cop-out excuse, I'm not sure. But it never seems to work in our favour, but maybe that's just story of St Kilda.
Yeah, I think you're right. I understand that you say most weeks that the midfield is where the game won or lost because the midfield is probably the most important part of the ground in most weeks. I'd say I want to see where Asava Radigalea plays because that was their big recruit for last off season, and they've been playing him forward. I've noticed in the last couple of Port games, and he hasn't been firing up forward. They've had a bit of forward, so I want to see whether he plays up forward or in defence because in defence he's been solid, but they just haven't had any forward options, so they've had to go up forward. So again, that tells me that especially if he plays defence, plays in the back line, that'll probably be another low scoring game. Unfortunately, given what we saw against Brisbane 2 weeks ago was more positive, but that's just my gut feel. And the stats would back me up on that likelihood. Yeah. Do you have a score prediction or a margin? I'll say St Kilda by 11. I'll say 80 to 69, and we get the chocolates.
Yeah, I was going to say Saints by 10 points, so very similar. But yeah, maybe be nice if we could kick 100 points and win. So I'm going to say sneak over with 101 to 91.
Fair enough. We'll go through a couple of your comments here. Jesse says, if we shut the midfield down, we'll win by 40. Dale, we need to score over 100 to win. Chris reckons it's time for the Saints to give Power a slap. That'd be good. Port Adelaide's another team I don't really like, so it'd be good if we can get the win.
Yeah.
Guy, St Kilda by 25. T. Essing to kick not sure, maybe Max King to kick 3. I think that's what it is. And he go another 5. That'd be good. Willie Rioli, I think, as a player to watch,
Mm,
he killed
yeah,
us
true.
in the game that we played last year in round 7. He kicked like 3 or 4 goals and just
Yeah.
tore us apart. Had that little can, the selling can. I think it was Josh Battle actually.
Yeah,
Um,
he's annoying. Let's stop
yeah,
him.
yeah, he's quite good on his day.
Yeah.
AJ 5 point
Okay.
win. Darren reckons St Kilda by 15. Dale. Uh,
Oh,
so Dale reckons Max King will kick 3. St Kilda, Higgins will kick 5, and Owens will kick 5. So
yeah, big day.
that might be more over 70 in itself, but we'll see. Jack wondering if it's another shootout. That'd be good for viewing. Chris 23-point win. Yeah, I think Georgiades had a good game against us last year as well. And yeah, Guy clarified that King is to get 3. There you go. So hopefully it should be a good game. Alana, you'll be at the game, is that right?
Yes, looking forward to it. It's been a while since I've been able to get to one, so hanging out. Hopefully, it's a good result.
Yes. Same goes for me. Been a while since I've been at the game. It's hard being interstate, but I will be at the game. Uh, yes. So obviously, if you see one of us, come up and say hi. Hopefully, we're in a good mood. If St Kilda's winning, I don't know about you, Alana, but I'm always my mood for the week is ruined if St Kilda don't win, and exceptionally for that day. Well, definitely, St Kilda definitely determines how my mood is.
Oh,
So
100%.
hopefully we're winning.
Correct. Yeah, you probably don't want to come and talk to me if we're losing. You'd
Yeah,
probably be able to hear me.
yeah. And Dale reckons Wanganeen Miller will take Mark of the Year. That is a very high bar given Jamie Elliott and Bobby Hills this so far this season. So it'll be a damn good mark to beat that. Yes, Jack. I probably yes. That's how it is being a St Kilda fan, as we all know. And yes, good to see Chris. Good to see I'm not the only one. Yes. Well, thank you guys for watching. We might just leave it there for this week. Just a reminder to check out all the other videos on the channel. I think the podcast drops on Spotify and Apple Music or wherever you podcasts later tonight. And we'll be on YouTube tomorrow. Check out the other videos as well. Alana will, of course, be on the team's live stream. That will. Oh, is that
Maybe.
not sure this week?
I'm not sure.
Maybe.
Yeah, not on all the time, so we'll see. Maybe.
Yeah, fair enough. Sorry, my apologies. I thought you were on. Is it like a rotating thing? How does it work?
Yeah, sort of. I've probably been on most weeks, but yeah, there's the odd one I'm not on. But yeah, probably just to rotate and mix it up. But yeah, I do enjoy jumping on there as well. So yeah, we'll see.
All right. Well, very, very exciting to see. Stay tuned to see whether Alana's on this week. Very dramatic reveal on Thursday. Very exciting. Um, yeah, but as always, thank you guys for watching. Enjoy the rest of your Tuesday night. Have a great week and go the Mighty Saints. See you guys next time.
Go Saints. Thanks for having me.